Ladies and gentlemen, John McAfee is dead. Sorry for spoiling the video. I mean, this isn't the most on-the-pulse story I've ever done. He died at least a few weeks to months ago. But if you don't know who he is or why you should care, stick around. This guy is worth learning about. John was born in 1945 in England on an American Army base. He moved to Virginia, almost got a doctorate in mathematics, but was expelled due to an unethical relationship with a student. He did marry her, though. It didn't last, but he did marry her. That expulsion, however, didn't seem to slow him down. He worked on the Apollo program for NASA that same year before moving on to Univac and Xerox. It was during his employment with Lockheed, though, that he began writing software to combat computer viruses. And that's what made him famous. Our boy John developed McAfee antivirus, which was incredibly successful. At the peak of his success, John was worth $100 million, and he used that money to buy and use drugs. Lots of them. Oh my God. So many. Now, to be fair, he had been doing drugs the entire time, but it's a lot easier to do them with $100 million. The list of crazy things that John has been involved in is immense, but I've selected some of my favorites for your viewing pleasure. He ran for president twice, obviously didn't win. He seemed to indicate that he was interested in fucking whales. He claimed taxes were illegal and stated he stopped paying income tax in 2010. Now, I'm not saying he's a sovereign citizen, but that is one of the first steps. He moved to Belize, created a harem of 7 women, and hired armed hitmen. Now, to be fair, that is exactly what I would do with $100 million. No, that's just a joke. My harem would be much bigger. He might have killed his neighbor after his neighbor poisoned his dogs when he became tired of them running through his property. This is not the only brutal crime John or his goon squad have been suspected of committing. He fled to Venezuela because obviously the owner of the dogs who were poisoned, the guy who hired armed hitmen, the neighbor of the victim, is the #1 suspect. Venezuela didn't want him, so he was deported to Miami, saw a prostitute outside of his hotel, paid her $2,000 to spoon him, which he probably would have done for less, and then married her months later. After that, to the surprise of no one, the IRS began investigating him for failure to pay taxes, and John decided to cruise the Caribbean in his yacht. While doing so, he was detained in the Dominican Republic for possession of military-style weapons and ammunition. Being investigated for illegal firearms is actually a common theme throughout John's history. Eventually, he was arrested in Spain for tax evasion at the request of the U.S. government, and on June 23, 2021, his extradition back to the United States was authorized. John was found hanging in his cell hours later. Interestingly, John often claimed if he was found dead in his cell, it would be murder, dressed up as suicide. However, I find that hard to believe since I can't imagine the U.S. would have a lot to gain from it, and it's pretty easy to believe John would rather die than go to jail. John McAfee was a man who lived his life exactly the way he wanted it. He's a peacock, Captain, and you gotta let him fly. So fly away, strange peacock. Fly away. And for the rest of us still trapped here on the ground, until the next time, be good, stay safe.